Would you rather Derek Carr at $30 million a year or Trevor Lawrence, Tua, Dak, or Jalen Hurts at $50 million per year? What a question. Interesting question here from New Orleans Football. So we have covered exclusively how insane Trevor Lawrence's latest contract is. That set the market of NFL quarterbacks. Now he's getting paid $55 million a year, which is way too much for that production. And today, we will juxtapose that, word of the day, with Derek Carr's contract, which is a very team-friendly situation. Speaking of team-friendly, look at this casual feet-on-the-table posture here from Nicholas. Unreal.
First question comes from Glenn Mercer. Would you rather have Derek Carr at $30 million per year or Trevor Lawrence, Tua, Dak, or Hurts at $50 million per year?
So, to answer the question, I think it's obviously Carr, and you got to also factor this in. This isn't me saying that Derek Carr is better than Trevor Lawrence, Tua, Dak, or Hurts. What this is saying is that I think they're all relatively similar. They're all relatively in the same tier. Are any of these guys like A-tier quarterbacks? No. Are any of these guys going to change your franchise by themselves? No. These guys aren't Joe Burrow. They're not Lamar Jackson. They're not Patrick Mahomes. They are a B-tier-ish, C-tier-ish player who is good, can win games, can have spurts of being really good, can probably have, a career year that catapults them to a Pro Bowl or catapults them to getting MVP votes or something like that. But on average, long-term, they're not that A-plus quarterback. So if that's the case, and they're all relatively similar, why the hell would I pay $20 million more a year for one over the other? So Derek Carr just kind of by default is who I would choose here. If the question was, would you rather have Tua at $30 million per year or Carr, Lawrence, Dak, or Hurts at $50 million, I would pick Tua. If the question was, would you rather have Jalen Hurts at $30 million per year or Trevor Lawrence, Tua, Dak, or Derek Carr at 50, I would choose Jalen Hurts. It's just the fact that the Saints had a very team-friendly situation, a good contract for a quarterback that is in this same group. And we're going to kind of look at the entire NFL landscape when it comes to contracts. And that's when you really see just the difference between Derek Carr and the other guys he's down there with as far as like his average salary.
There's no bargains to be had at this position anywhere in the NFL.
Yeah, no doubt.
And he said 50. I mean, what was Trevor Lawrence, 55?
Yeah, 55.
Dak's going to be 55. Are Hurts and Tua going to flirt with 60? I mean, it's just...
Hurts is at 51 right now. Let's look at it, I guess. Let's look at it. So Hurts is at 51. Tua is still on his early contract where he'll be in that 50 to 60 range. He might not be 60, but he'll be 50 will be the floor for him. But look at Carr. So Carr is down here 16th highest paid per year. But look at the drop off. You go Derek Carr, Baker Mayfield, Geno Smith, who I would all say is about the same level. Then you drop to Gardner Minshew, Sam Darnold, a bunch of rookies who doesn't count because they're on the rookie contract, Zach Wilson, Trey Lance. I mean, when you look at it like this, it is a crazy team-friendly deal to have Derek Carr. I mean, you are like Daniel Jones being up here is nuts. Daniel Jones getting $40 million a year. Again, like you can't count some of these players because of their rookie deal, but it is nuts how when you look at Carr, even Mayfield, like Carr, Mayfield, Geno, like I said, those three guys right there, they're not that far away from the Dak Prescott. They're not that far away from the Kirk Cousins. They're certainly not that far away from the Deshaun Watson and the Kyler Murray and the Jalen Hurts and some of these other, and the Trevor Lawrence. I mean, Trevor Lawrence being number 2 is just absolutely insane. But when you look at it like this, there is a bargain to be had because you're getting a guy, whatever you think about Derek Carr or whatever you're thinking about Baker Mayfield or Geno Smith, but you're getting guys who it's like, hey, they can kind of steady things. They can kind of win you games. They can kind of hang out. They can do exactly what Deshaun Watson is doing. They can do exactly what Kyler Murray is doing. They can do exactly what Trevor Lawrence is doing.
It's going up and up and up.
Who's cap, though? Who's cap? You know what I mean? Who's cap?
No kidding.
Are we starting with the clean cap, or are we fitting this player?
But we know how quickly
cap?
you can get into cap trouble by spending it. I mean,
oh yeah.
I
don't care whose cap you're using, and that's no cap. I don't care whose cap you're using. You do not want to spend $55 million or $50 million on Dak Prescott or Trevor Lawrence or Tua or Derek Carr or Jalen Hurts. That is, I don't care whose cap it is, that is going to put you in trouble later on.
I feel like Dak is my favorite name on the list. Until I see his next contract, then it won't be probably. What if Dak gets...
Mike, we're telling you his next contract. They're saying that Dak is getting $50 million. What are you talking about? That is the question. The question is, Lawrence, Tua, Dak, or Jalen Hurts at $50 million per year, or Carr at 30? What do you mean you'll wait and see until you see the next contract? The answer is already there. It is a fill in the blank, and the blank is full. The blank is absolutely full, my guy. Like, I don't think it's a $20 million difference. That is a huge difference for not that different of production.
60. And whose team?
Yeah, but like, you know what I mean? Like I'd rather deal with originals than
I think Derek
than the
Carr's
47th.
contract has quickly become almost a bargain. He's making about 33. Now look, they're going to have it goes up. It goes up if they keep him next year to 40, and if they keep him the year after that to 50, that's not going to happen. Torn up and ripped apart. But as it currently stands, these first 2 years of his deal, they got him for like 33.3 per year over the first 2 years. I like that better than 55 for Trevor Lawrence. I like having a plan though. Some of these teams have. They know what they're building around.
What? You know what you're building around? What are you talking about? The Jaguars do not know what they're building around. They're guessing. They're hoping. They're tricking themselves.
Off this list, like clean, just straight up clean cap, not all this stuff. Like I would rather have Hurts for sure. I mean, I will admittedly say I don't watch a ton of Jags games. My impression from the distance feels like Lawrence hasn't quite lived up to.
I watch a ton of Jags games, and I'll give you this: Trevor Lawrence's ass. Let's go ahead and take a look at it. So this is their career, okay? This is all those quarterbacks' careers, and obviously we'll have another one where we extrapolate it down to the same amount of games. But if you look at this right here, you could argue that Dak has had the best. You could argue that Dak has had the best career. It's an argument. It's not crazy one way or the other, but you could argue that Dak, out of all these players, has done the most. 73 and 41, 202 touchdowns to 74. Pretty sporty. He tacks on another 28 rushing touchdowns. He 4.6 yards a carry, which is about the same as Jalen Hurts and Trevor Lawrence. So nothing bad, right? Like, you look at this and say, okay, you're getting a 3-time Pro Bowler, 1-time All-Pro. Like, all right, cool. Carr's right there. I mean, Carr obviously has the picks. Carr's record hurts him if you're looking at this grand scheme of things. But James, the Raiders are bad. The defense. Look, listen. Okay, I'm not saying one way or the other. I'm just giving you the facts. All right, his record kind of hurts if you're just looking at this. No pun intended for Jalen Hurts, but Jalen Hurts and Tua's records are cool. The far and away worst on this list is, funnily enough, I'm not sure if that's a word. Funnily enough, is the highest paid player on this list. You can make an argument that Hurts has the better numbers. You can make an argument that Dak has the better numbers. You can make an argument for Tua, for Derek Carr. You cannot make an argument. You can't really make the argument for Tua. You cannot make an argument for Trevor Lawrence. No way. He has the least amount of passing yards. Or, well, he does not have the least amount. Jalen Hurts does, but Jalen Hurts also has 41 touchdowns rushing and 2,500 rushing yards. Trevor Lawrence has 58 touchdowns and 39 interceptions. That is horrific. He has a 20-30 record. Horrific. Like, bad. To be the highest paid is crazy. Like, you look at Carr's record. Not good, right? 72 and 87 is not good at all. But he's not getting paid $55 million a year. He didn't sign a $275 million contract. So now let's extrapolate it. Okay, this is throughout their first 60-ish games. Now, Tua and Trevor, they haven't played 60 games, so this is what it looks like right here. We didn't do 50 because then the numbers get all messed up. Then a lot of people have mid-40, so this is just the easiest way to do it. If you do it this way, okay, now who would you say has had the best? Who would you pay out of these guys? I think you look at Jalen. If you look at this and you're looking at the record, you look at the passing yards combined with the rushing yards, combined with the touchdowns. I mean, you look at everything, it's probably Jalen Hurts. On top of the age, Jalen Hurts is, let's see here. Jalen Hurts is 26. So on top of the fact that he's 26 years old, like, yeah, you're going to pick Jalen. I mean, it's nothing crazy. That's not, I'm not splitting the atom here. If you're looking at all 5 of these guys, you're picking Jalen Hurts. After that, you can make a case for Tua. You can make a case for Dak. You can even make a case for Carr, because Carr does have 103 passing touchdowns to 44 interceptions. But again, you cannot make a case for Trevor Lawrence. He is easily the worst out of these 5 guys. Now, the question is, literally the question that was posed at the beginning of this video is, if you are choosing Jalen Hurts, and that's probably who I would choose. I would choose Jalen Hurts out of all these guys. I would pick him if I was just looking at it. Dak would probably be my second. Tua would be my third. Carr would be my fourth. Lawrence would be my fifth. If I was an unbiased party, just looking at these 5 players, who am I going to pay as my who do I want as my franchise quarterback? Out of these 5, these numbers, that's what I would do. But if one of them, out of the guys besides Trevor Lawrence, if one of them is $20 million less, that's the question. It's not who would you pick, because I think that's relatively easy. The question is, would you pick Jalen Hurts and tack on an extra $20 million?
The billing that he's supposed to be in at that top tier level pay, but like again, I don't have a deep knowledge of Jacksonville football to where I'm willing to make like a nuanced stance and argue it to death against somebody that might have better insight into that. So I'll admit I don't know what I don't know there. I probably wouldn't want to pay $50 million to Tua or Dak, but if I had to pick out of one of those, like I would probably pay Dak before Tua. But I would definitely take Hurts. I would definitely take Hurts, and I would take Hurts in this situation too, trying to make it work, sacrificing other things. I would definitely take him in this one, but there's a lot to be said for.
Now I know this isn't part of the question, but you also do have to factor in like how important was the system for Jalen Hurts? Because if Jalen Hurts was on the Saints last year and Pete Carmichael's having him do what Pete Carmichael was having Derek Carr do, and he's not utilizing, Pete Carmichael would not have been able to utilize Jalen Hurts' legs and all that. That's risky business. Now, if Jalen Hurts is in the system that he was in, or he goes to a Sean Payton or Sean McVay or Kyle Shanahan, he's going to be absolutely insane. He has proven that in the right system, he can be absolutely insane. He could have been, if it wasn't for injury, the MVP the year that they went to the Super Bowl. And they almost won the Super Bowl. So he put it together for a year. Jalen Hurts' peak, and that's something else you got to factor in. Like his peak that we saw is better than any of the peaks of the other guys. Trevor Lawrence hasn't even had a peak. Tua hasn't even had a peak, right? Carr had a peak the year that he got a couple MVP votes. That peak was not as good as Jalen Hurts' year. Dak Prescott has had a few peaks where Dak Prescott looks like the best player in the league. It was not as sustained as Hurts. Dak's is usually for like 6, 7, 8 games. It's never for a full season. He's obviously never been to the Super Bowl. So, Hurts is the right answer if you had to pick one of them. I just don't know if he is worth $50 million per year. Or I know that he's not. I know that he's not worth $50 million per year. Now, if we go 5 years down the road and $50 million is a relative bargain, then you might change things. But as it sits right now, I would rather the group of quarterbacks of Geno, Carr, Baker for $30 million than biting the bullet on a quarterback for $250 million.
$30 million and kind of not feeling great about your situation, and $50 million and not feeling great about your situation, and then feeling better about the $30 million because it's not 50.
Yeah, I'm not going to make the case for Derek Carr, but I think these guys making 55 makes you feel better about.
No doubt.
Yeah, absolutely.
It feels like he's a good value. Like it really does. It feels like it's a good
value.
And
Jared Goff in there. He's now 55.
Yeah.
And Cousins 45.
Yeah, and if they ever lose their OC, OC in Detroit, and I don't know if that guy's ever going to become a head coach, but if he does, like all of a sudden, like his Is he the same? Like, is it?
Look at Hurts. Hurts lost Steichen last year. Hurts was bad. Last year, Jalen Hurts was bad. So if Ben Johnson leaves, Ben Johnson's the OC in Detroit. If Ben Johnson leaves, I don't think Jared Goff's the same. So yeah, it is a lot. It is a lot to pay these quarterbacks and what they're getting and what you're expecting of them, what you're saying by paying them that much. Like, what are you really saying when you're paying Trevor Lawrence as much as you're paying Joe Burrow? More than you're paying Lamar Jackson, more than you're paying Patrick Mahomes. Like, are you saying that he's the second best quarterback in the NFL? Do you think he can get to that level? What really, when you invest that kind of money into a player like Trevor Lawrence, what is the future? What is the vision? Like Mike mentioned that they have a plan. What is the plan? Is the plan that he's going to develop at some point into the best quarterback in the NFL? Because that seems like a bit of a pipe dream for a player that is 10 games under 500 and has 55 touchdowns and 38 interceptions or whatever it is this far into his career.
The same. Like, maybe there's a disciple that can take over in the building, but oftentimes there's a little bit of a change there. Like, the thing that makes a guy special or the things that make that guy special, and taking that coach out might affect it. So yeah, I mean absolutely. Obviously you'd rather have the quarterback that you feel like is 14 to 16 Breeze or Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen or someone that's like Lamar, that you can win a Super Bowl because he's on your team, CJ Stroud. But yeah, I mean, if you got to spend money, I'd rather spend less money on someone that isn't that, well, you can win a Super Bowl because you got him type guy. And I don't know what Hurts is. Like, there was a moment where Hurts looked like someone that could be that, and there's moments where he hasn't, but I feel like he's closer to that than the rest of the guys on this list. But I would rather pay less than have someone that has me stuck kind of,
Yeah, it's a really good question. The group of names in this question made it a really good question.
Yeah.
Let's stick with QB money. Cam Bowman asks, if the Saints win the division and make the playoffs, do you see a Derek Carr extension?
No.
It depends on what that looks like. If Carr lights it up and we win the division with 11 wins, 12 wins, something like that, I mean, yeah, it might not be an extension. It might be like a cute little like a restructuring to add on another year, because he will not make $50 million or whatever it is that fourth year. The contract is set up to where they do not plan on paying him the third and the fourth year as stated in the current contract. So if he's going to play that third year, which obviously if we win the division and go to the playoffs and he lights it up, he will play that third year, then you're going to have to restructure it. Now, is restructuring it, adding on another year, making it, Derek Carr signs a 3-year extension that restructures year 3, year 4, and then they can get out in year 5? Like, it's way more complicated than just an extension or a new deal or anything like that. Like, there's a lot of moving and shaking that has to happen. If he does play well this year in Kubiak's system, and we do win the division and we do go to the playoffs, yeah, he will be the quarterback for the third season for sure.
Here, not yet probably, but here's the rub. If Derek Carr plays well, then now there's no, hey, Derek, will you re-up at 30 again? I mean, it's already built into his contract. He is it's set to go up to 40 next year, and it's set to go to 50 the year after that. Now, when he first signed it, it kind of felt like, well, they're going to tear that fourth year up and throw it away. But it's also his agent, Tim Younger, doing a good job of seeing the map in the future. Like, I'm not giving you a bargain in the future. If you guys want to if you are going to the playoffs and Derek Carr is working, you're going to have to pay the going rate, which will be 40 next year and 50 the next year.
Under no circumstances will they pay $50 million. If we win the division this year, and they're like, well, all right, we'll let him stick around. I'd be surprised if they let him stick around anyways for $40 million. If you told me they will not restructure, if you told me Derek Carr draws the line in the sand and says I am not restructuring, I think they probably find a way to get rid of him. I don't think unless he is the MVP, unless Kubiak turns it around that much and they're a 12-win, 13-win team. But if they're 10 wins, NFC South champion, and Carr is above average, like, I think you just trust, like, okay, this system is sweet, Kubiak is sweet, but I don't think you just kick your feet back and say, yeah, we'll pay him $40 million in year 3, and $50 million in year 4.
That's kind of shrewd.
Yeah, I mean, like 50 felt like a fake number when they signed it, and already it doesn't feel like a fake number. That'll be the 10th highest paid quarterback in the league. So I don't know if extension is the right word, but the guaranteed money was mostly in the first 2 years. There's only 10 more million guaranteed in year 3. It's a pay as you go contract, and I think they continue to pay it. I think they pay 40 the next year without question if they make the playoffs this year, and if they make the playoffs 2 years in a row, I think they probably pay the 50 the year after that. And
I don't think so. I think that's crazy. I think at that point you're probably, but you also got to think about Rattler or Hainer. Like at that point you're thinking, okay, well, we got a $50 million. I mean, if they're winning 10 games, like if you go to the playoffs, win the division with 9 wins, 10 wins, like you would think, okay, the system's good enough, anybody can do that. Like I said, yeah, if Carr wins 13 games, 14 games, like, okay, this is a whole different picture here. But I don't think just because you back into the division, I don't think you then say like, oh, well, guess we got to pay $50 million
and extend it to lock him up. So that's what's at stake with him showing success here for sure.
Interesting conversation. Good question right there. Nothing like quarterback contract talk to get the juices flowing. Ladies and gentlemen, get on down in the comments below and let me know what you think about this. Who would you take? Carr at 30 or Lawrence, Tua, Dak, or Hurts at 50? React down there, and I'll be reacting to your reactions. Reactception. Thank you very much for watching. I will see you in the next video.